Hey, elite entrepreneurs and empire builders, welcome. Those of you joining us from wherever you are, whether you're over on in the Facebook group or whether you're on Instagram or LinkedIn or even YouTube watching this later down the road. Thanks for joining us. Really excited for this conversation today. This is going to be a really important conversation. I'm your host, and this is the show where we connect you with vetted and qualified franchise brands and the faces behind them, so you can franchise your future with confidence and clarity. So, from wherever you are, make sure that you drop your comments, questions, opinions in the chat, and we'll engage with you. We'll bring those in to our conversation today. Today, our special guest with us today is Michele Popelka, and she is president of Next Day Access. Man, I cannot wait to kind of share more of her story and kind of where she's coming from. She has been franchising a long time. I'm going to let her unpack a lot of that, but she's been some pretty massive brands and some really big leadership roles. She's served with Sylvan and with GNC and with Sports Clips, and the list goes on and on. And now today she's leading, kind of the pioneer here for the next phase of growth for this incredible brand that's really well positioned. We're going to talk about that. But the main point of our conversation today is this: semi-absentee. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time from people that come to me, clients I'm working with. Often they think franchising, they think I want to, that to them, there's a sense of like, man, I want to be as hands off as I can and still make as much money as possible, right? And that's like everyone's dream, right? But the idea of semi-absentee has become so watered down because of it that it's almost been lost in translation. It's a buzzword. So are hands-off ownership. So is passive income. These are some of the biggest buzzwords today. We're going to unpack all of that today. This is not about marketing any specific business. Today is about reality. And we're going to talk about, even from Michele as the president of a franchise, what does that look like for your owners and your franchisees? Are they living that out? Are they able to grow into that? Are they starting from the beginning? Is that even a reality? So we're going to unpack all those kinds of things. This conversation is going to be highly educational. We'll talk a little bit about accessibility. Mobility solutions. We'll talk a little bit about the brand. They're kind of in the senior care space that is a massive growing industry. It's a massive growing segment. I mean, it's projected to go from like 107 billion to 170 plus billion in 7 years, and that's crazy growth. And there's a ton of like in-home health or home care options. This one's unique. It's going to be in that similar space, but what the solutions they're providing, they're meeting different needs for a booming industry that is no end in sight for the next decade plus. So it's really well positioned to grow. This is a purpose-driven business, recession-resistant. It's going to be a great conversation, though, as they continue to grow as well. They've surpassed 100 territories. They're serving all over North America, across the United States and Canada. And Michele is leading all of that growth. And I'm excited for this conversation. So, without further ado, let's franchise your future. This is Fran Opps Live. Michele, welcome. Welcome to Fran Opps Live.
Thanks for having me, Jared.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Genuinely, I'm excited to unpack this. This is a big conversation. As I just mentioned, I hear it all the time from people. Different opinions on it and really different definitions of it. So we'll get into that. But before we do, let's start with you and who you are. Tell us a little bit more about your story, if you could, and the brand. How did you get to where you are today?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I've been in franchising for over 30 years. I hate to say that out loud. I don't know where that time went, but it's been that long.
Yeah.
I love it. I fell in love with franchising right away. Out of college, I was in the retail business, and a friend called and said, hey, we have this franchising division. And I thought, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, working with business owners and helping them build their businesses. And I never looked back. So I've been doing it ever since. You mentioned I've been with many brands. Some have been B2C, recognizable, like you said, Sport Clips and GNC. Some of them B2B. And I've probably worked with every kind of partnership channel partner model there is. We had joint ventures all over the world at Mood Media, and everything from franchising locally to global partnerships. So it's been a wild and fun ride for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so great. And so then let's dive right into kind of what we're talking about today, this idea of semi-absentee, right? And I think it's important. I always think it's important to be really clear and on what we're talking about. Like, let's define our definitions. So for you, let's start here. When you hear the phrase, or when you think when people hear the phrase semi-absentee, what do you think immediately comes to mind for them?
I think when people hear semi-absentee, they often think of passive income or hands-off ownership.
Yeah.
You described that really well in your opening. I couldn't have said it better myself. That, and who doesn't want that,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Um, do the least possible and make the most and help people while you're
Mhm.
at it. That sounds like a good game plan to me.
Yeah.
I really understand why that's attractive,
Yeah,
and I
right.
think people want flexibility and scalability.
Mhm.
But if it's too good to be true, folks, it is. So I think franchising gives
Yeah.
you infrastructure, it gives
Okay.
you systems, it gives you training and a playbook.
Mhm.
But I think the differentiator here is it's still the franchisee's responsibility to execute that model locally, and execute is the operative word.
Yeah.
So I think semi-absentee is something you can graduate to in a business, but it's certainly not how you start any business.
Okay.
Even a franchise who gives you all the backbone and the infrastructure, it's still on the franchisee to have leadership skills, develop teams, and
Mhm.
and do all of those things that really make businesses successful.
Okay, so then from your perspective, what does true semi-absentee ownership, what does that model actually look like in the real world?
I think after you have developed your teams and you've
Okay.
got some scale and you understand the business well enough to hold others accountable, to understand how it's operating from remote by
Mhm.
reading reports and thoroughly understanding, I think there's a time when you can get there. But I also think you have to remember that your team still deserves leadership. And I
Mm.
think you have to show up, whatever that means for you and your business. But you have to understand the business well enough and have gotten to operational maturity before I think it's a reasonable idea that you could be semi-absentee.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned an important word there, leadership.
Yeah.
You know, so talk us through, what does that mean then, or what does that look like, and do you have any examples even with next day access franchisees, or even from your that come to mind for you from your past? What does true successful strong leadership look like for those that are semi-absentee owners?
Yeah, I think leadership always means leading people. I've always been a non-proponent of managerial language.
Hmm.
You manage things and you lead people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you gain the credibility and the leadership by understanding the details of the business first.
Okay.
Not that you have to continue to do them. In the current business I'm in, you don't need to be out installing stair lifts all day, every day for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You need to know how to do it well enough that you can hold your team accountable, because
Hmm.
you have a technician who will say changing a battery in a stair lift is a 4-hour job. It's a 15-minute job.
Hmm.
So that's a very simplistic version
Yeah.
of
Well.
why you need to understand enough about the business that you can hold people accountable. I can
Okay.
also give examples, not necessarily in this business, but where franchisees have hired an accountant and
Yeah.
said, oh, well, there's money in the bank, everything must be okay. Well, then they found out that the accountant or the bookkeeper hasn't been paying the bills. So that's why they look flush with
Oh
cash.
no.
So when
You saw that happen.
oh, yeah, I've seen that more than once, unfortunately. And
Wow.
so you have to understand your business well enough, even if you're not an expert in every area of the business. That's what the franchise model is there for, to give you that blueprint.
Mhm.
And your business consultants in the business, the other people in the organization are there to help you understand what those reports mean. When you understand that thoroughly and can hold other people accountable to those standards, that's again when semi-absentee might make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So in a model then like next day access, what responsibilities still fall on the owner, even if they're not involved in the day to day? Well, let me ask this: next day access owners, are there owners that are semi absentee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there
Now,
are.
then what are their responsibilities, even if they're not that involved with the day to day?
They're working on the business. So they're
Okay.
out in their communities, they're building referral sources, they're building relationships, they're
Mhm.
driving PR, they're leading from a different level, right?
Yeah.
They're thinking about expansion. They might be thinking about when they might sell down the road and
Mm.
thinking about their exit strategy. So they really get to that executive level
Okay.
where they're reviewing the business and making
Hmm.
sure they have the right people
Yeah.
and the right people doing the right things, but they're working on the business, not
Yeah.
in that business every day.
And how many hours then are those owners investing into the business in that manner?
I think some of those owners maybe, 20 hours a week.
Oh,
Um,
really?
also,
Awesome.
yeah, I think so. And also in a position where they can do that work from the beach or with the fishing pole in their hand or whatever
Yeah.
makes them happy every day, right? Because they've
Yeah.
put in the work.
Hmm.
They also have scaled. So these are usually owners who are not single unit owners. They maybe have multiple locations.
Okay.
They've diversified their business.
Yeah.
That's another big important thing, meaning they have more than one territory. They have a mix of the kinds of products and services they offer. They have a balance between commercial and residential.
Hmm.
They have referral sources that are diverse. So if any one piece of that business isn't operating optimally, they haven't lost 50% of their business. They've lost a small fraction and
Yeah.
they can cover that in the short term. So I think that's another thing that's made people successful enough that they've matured and built it in a way that then they have that safety net and they've de-risked the business with diversification.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now they don't start that way. Do you
No.
have any owners that have tried starting that way, and how has that gone?
If someone wants to throw a lot of capital into it, maybe it can work, but then you're talking having a general contractor who's likely quite expensive, making sure you have some history with that person. But I still think that first 6 to 12 months, you need to be in the business
Mm,
and
yeah.
understand it before you can really back off. That's when, if you have capital you want to throw at it, you could get to that point faster.
Hmm.
But I'm a
Sure.
firm believer that you still really have to understand it top to bottom first before you can make that maneuver.
Yeah, but even still, even if you have a lot of money that you can invest into it, like it still takes a certain kind of person
Yes.
people to do that well, right? Like not
Yes.
everyone is able to dunk a basketball. Not
Yep.
everyone can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Like
That's
we know
right.
what it looks like. We
That's
we
right.
we want to do that, but I ain't even coming close to touching the rim, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yep.
it takes a certain
I
kind of
know how
person
that
and
feels.
skill set. When you and your team are exploring or looking at new franchisees, new owners,
Mhm.
what are some of the, are there certain skill sets or proven experiences that you're looking for in an individual to go, this person has what it takes to scale this business to become semi-absentee?
Yes, definitely. There are a variety of things. So
Okay.
I take my own advice.
Yeah.
We do look for diversification in our franchisees, meaning we have some franchisees that are veterans
Okay.
and we work with a lot of veterans. We work with the VA. It's
Hmm.
great to have those veterans that are our business owners for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They bring certain skill sets. Some of them are, retired elevator operators from the Navy,
Yeah.
and they bring a certain skill set in the field.
Yeah.
We have some people who are former CFOs, CEOs, who have been in the workforce in corporate America and
Mm.
are, speaking as semi-absent, they're semi-retired and they still want to do something, but they want to do something more meaningful with their careers.
Yeah.
And so they choose this particular type of business because there's so much, intrinsic value every day.
Mm,
So we look for a variety of owners, but they all have to be leaders. They all have to be able to communicate. They all have to be able to network in their communities, build those referral sources.
yeah.
And we, we're a company who has very specific cultural values. It's
Okay.
not like some marketing team just wrote the values and stuck them up on a,
Right.
board in the back room and
Yeah.
put it on your wallpaper on
Yeah.
your intranet site. We really look for franchisees who have the same values that we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you unpack what those are?
Yeah, sure. The main thing is we have to be responsive. And
Okay.
that goes for all of our constituencies. We have to be responsive to our clients, whether commercial or residential. We
Mhm.
have to be responsive to our suppliers. We have to be responsive to our franchisees, to each other.
Yeah.
We have to be responsive. And in this business, by the way, if you don't pick up the phone, they will call someone else because it's usually urgent.
Oh, that's so true, Michelle. There's one, hang on to the very end, friends, because actually we're going to wrap up with in a little while. We're going to wrap up with a testimonial video of a client who's been served by a next day access owner or business location, right?
Mhm.
And what you'll hear her say is this very thing: how important, being able to make one phone call and trust that it's going to be picked up. How big of an impact that makes on her. This is you might think that sounds like such a simple thing, Michelle. Like, obviously pick up the phone.
Mission
Shocked. You would be
critical.
shocked how few
Mission
people do
critical.
this.
Yeah, exactly. So responsiveness, having some empathy for others,
Okay.
being knowledgeable. We're
Mm,
we're a construction company on some level. We're installing products in people's homes. They have to be safe. They have to be ADA compliant when they're commercial. We have to be knowledgeable and detailed about that
yeah.
and so forth. So we're looking people for people who are going to share those values with
Mm,
us. We can teach them the installation, we can teach them the tech
okay.
stack, we can
Yeah.
teach them all of those other things because the infrastructure is tight,
Yeah.
but we're looking for people who hold those values that are going to take care of our customers and our referral sources.
Yeah. 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 That's great. Um, okay, let me ask you this. Then what kind of systems need to exist for a business to realistically support the kind of semi-absentee structure we're talking about?
I think technology is key, right?
Okay.
So we have a very good tech stack, and I'm not going to tell you the details,
Come
but
on, come on, Michelle. This is
heck
where we go.
no,
Give
heck
it to us.
no.
That's
But
fair.
but
That's all
what's
right.
what's fun about this business
Yeah.
is, it's newer, it's younger. I've been
Yeah.
in a lot of mature businesses, as we discussed
Yeah.
earlier,
Yeah.
where there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions work. There's been a lot of technologies that don't speak to each other. We've been able to build our franchisee facing and customer facing tech stack from the ground up. So everything talks to each other, everything connects, and there's a
Love
thread
it.
that moves through so that every client is having a similar life cycle
Okay.
and every user on our back end is having a similar path.
Hmm.
So we can track everything from our Google business pages and our Google ads all the way through to getting one of those stunning referrals like the one you're going to show later. We
Yeah.
can track everything that happens in between. We have data points for all of it. We can see conversion rates. We can see return on
Hmm.
investment for digital marketing. We can see, where leads are coming from. We can really measure everything we do. And
Hmm.
when you have infrastructure like that and it's working and it's being operated correctly,
Yeah.
now you can run a report and say, okay, everything's the return on ad spend is good, the
Okay. Yeah.
conversions are working, we record all of our calls, we can help our salespeople and our technicians who are having phone conversations get better at doing that.
Hmm.
So having all that infrastructure behind it really makes it possible. If that doesn't exist, I think it would be very, very difficult to be
Yeah.
semi-absentee.
But what about I absolutely 100% agree. I assume though, there's got to be more than just tech. Like, there's a lot of tech, I'm sure, surrounding, especially in this world we live in, that
Hmm.
you're going to surround a franchisee with so that they can be successful and eventually grow to become semi-absentee. Are there other elements? Can you tell us maybe even about like the team
Yeah.
at Next Day and how they are is there a structure set up so people can kind of step into that?
Yeah, I think I think we're back to the leadership conversation, right? Somebody
Okay.
has to be a very good leader.
Yeah.
I'm also a big proponent of DISC assessments.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of understanding your style, being adept enough at it to
Hmm.
guess what somebody else's style might be like
Yeah.
and
Right.
be able to adjust your conversation so
Hmm.
that really good communication happens. So certainly the ability to communicate, to coach, to lead, to guide, if that's not there with all the reporting, then you're right. It's a one-sided
Yeah.
adventure for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen anybody struggle in next day because they maybe underestimated the involvement required?
I think I've seen that in many businesses.
Hmm.
People want to hear what they want to hear, and we are very direct about what this business takes when we speak with candidates.
Okay.
We almost give too much information, which is a
Hmm.
different conversation, but
Yeah.
we really this is a hot business.
Hmm.
People want to get into this kind of business for all the reasons you stated earlier.
Yeah.
We don't have to sell franchises. We
Hmm.
sell them because this is a great business with great people involved in it. Our validation is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hmm.
So for that reason, we can really choose who we want to be involved with.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. How should someone, from your perspective, I'm a franchise consultant, right? And this is what I do is I
Mhm.
try to help people evaluate
Mhm.
various opportunities to help them find the right fit for them and their goals, both short term, long term. I'm trying to help them find alignment with all those things. So, from your perspective, how should somebody evaluate whether semi-absentee is actually even aligned with their goals, aligned with their lifestyle, aligned with their expectations?
Yeah, I think actually I just did an IFA mentee program where I was a mentor for somebody, and we had a
Hmm.
lot of discussion about this.
Hmm.
I think in general, you really have to love business for the sake of business.
Yeah.
You just really
Hmm.
have to love business.
Yeah.
I've seen in my GNC days, I've seen many people who opened a gym because they like to work out. Well, that's interesting, but it's
Doesn't
probably not
work.
gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah.
so I think you have to ask yourself a lot of questions first, or they like to
Yeah.
bake, and then you say, "Well, okay, you love to bake, but for your family on Sunday morning, how are you gonna feel about being up at 3 AM every day, sweating in the kitchen? Because
Yeah.
that's pretty much what your life is gonna be like. So, I
Yeah.
think,
Wow. Okay.
from both of our experiences, there's probably a lot of reality checks that people
Mhm.
need to make things not more romantic than they really
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
I think semi-absentee is no different.
Yeah.
I think you have to think about what you want your life to look like and what's important and what matters. And
Yeah.
then you sort of back into, okay, you know, I'm at this point in my life now. I have energy. I want to do certain things. I want to be out with these clients. I want to hear customers tell me we've changed their lives and they're living better every
Mm.
day.
Yeah.
That feels good. I want that.
Yeah.
Um, and then maybe things shift, and at some point you still want that, but you want it for somebody else more than you want it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so then you can be semi-absentee, and you still know you're taking action that's helping other people in your community, but
Mhm.
you're just doing it a little bit more passive way behind the scenes, perhaps. Or
Yeah.
perhaps it affords you the opportunity to just shift the work you do from being in the homes every day to now working with business owners that need accessibility products, or developing referral sources, or expanding your business.
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you decide to open another location because you have the infrastructure. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but more business might mean that you can now become semi-absentee
That
because
is counterintuitive, right?
right? But it becomes big enough
Yeah.
that you can financially afford that
Mm.
more sophisticated general manager or general contractor, or the other kinds of people that you might need
Yeah.
to operate daily.
Do you get how is someone gonna know when to do that? Let's say they don't come from business ownership experience, and that's why they're looking into franchising, is they need that support, that structure, that leadership, that coaching, that training. They need all that. They're good with numbers, they can read a P&L, but they've never been in that role. So how are they gonna know when to scale appropriately, when to hire the right kinds of people, when to replace themselves so they can become more semi-absentee, or they need to shift responsibilities. How are they going to know when to do that?
I think what they should do is speak with their franchise business consultant.
Okay.
Because if the organization has great franchise business consultants that are helping them on a daily basis, or I
Yeah.
mean, in my business, they know they can pick up the phone and call me, text me, send a smoke signal, whatever they need to
Yeah.
do. But don't try and make that decision in isolation.
Yeah.
Find a
Really good.
consultant, talk to someone else in the organization,
Hmm.
really get a second set of eyes on it so that someone can, from a point of neutrality, say, these are the things that I think are working in your business. These are the areas where I think there's opportunity. Do
Okay.
we agree? Okay, now does this make sense or does this not make sense? Or what sort of infrastructure changes or personnel changes would you need to make semi-absentee
Yeah.
work? So
Yeah.
so again, my advice is don't try and make that decision in isolation. Use your resources. That's why you're in a franchise, because
Yeah.
you have all those people around you who are more than willing to have those kinds of conversations
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, that's great. And I assume next day access, do you have people in place like that? Do you have coaches and consultants that can help guide in that
We
process?
do. We absolutely do, and we're very lucky. As I mentioned,
Mm.
I've been in the franchising space for 30 plus years, and I've had the privilege of working with wonderful people. So
Yeah.
we have people who are very successful, former multi-unit franchise owner operators and other businesses that have semi-retired and called me up and said, I'm bored. And, those are people that are our business coaches right now. So
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. We have very sophisticated business coaches in our business.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Well, Michelle, my last question as we kind of wrap up, really, is just tell us what the vision is. What's the vision for next day? Brag on the brand a little bit and kind of where things are headed.
Okay, so we really scaled. We really set ourselves up to scale the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of infrastructure, right? So the
Mhm.
infrastructure is there so we could grow. And at the same time, we responsibly brought in a lot of new franchisees.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of work with them to make sure that we're doing 360 reviews every 90 days or so to make sure we're creating good habits and that they really are maximizing their investment,
Mm.
maximizing the system, and most importantly, helping as many people as they can in their communities. Going forward, I don't think we even understand what territory penetration looks like yet.
Okay.
There are so many lines of business. And of course, if you're a new franchisee, the smart thing to do is use your resources first. So if you came from the hotel industry, by all means, you're going to call all the hotels and ask them if
Okay.
their pool lifts are up to date, right?
Yeah.
But then what? Then there's the VA and there's occupational therapists, there's discharge agents,
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
Medicaid, there's just this
Wow.
unlimited plethora of sources out there. And so I don't think we have one business yet because we're still young enough
Yeah.
that can say they've fully penetrated
Mm.
all the opportunities there are in their territories. So we're
Wow.
really focused on that right now. So the runway is long just from doing what we do and doing it really well.
Hmm.
And then, of course, in the future, who knows? We work with suppliers on how we can make products, more aesthetic, more tech enabled,
Hmm.
move that buy cycle up so people don't wait till it's an emergency. They get that help sooner. And there's not so much of a stigma around it. For us, who knows? There could be mergers and acquisitions activity. So
Hmm.
there's a very long runway here from the simple do it well every day to
Yeah.
all sorts of other strategies in the future, but it's an exciting time for sure.
Good. Yes, I love it. And how many units or territories or franchisees do
We're
you have?
we're somewhere over 138 territories right
That's
now,
huge.
and
Yeah.
our friend dev people are very seasoned and they do a
That's
great
good.
job. And
Yeah.
so every time we think we're going to do X number, I think we've already hit our full year goal, and it's May.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, as you're pointing out, this is a very needed. It's not just popular because people like the product that's being sold. This is a very needed
yes,
business, and it's going
yes.
to be needed for the next for a very long time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, so if you're looking for a business that has the potential, it kind of to wrap up that, this is not going to be a business that if you want to come in and start hands off, semi-absentee out of the gate, this may not be the one for you unless you have a very clear, specific understanding and strategy in the finances to back it up on how to do all that. It's worth a conversation, but it's not going to happen out of the gate. But if you're looking for a business that knows how to help you scale to that, because that means that your business is scaling, and you want to run a business that actually provides a needed service that's helping provide to enhance other people's lives in need, especially as our population continues to age. And if you want to help them be able to age in place and all these things, and provide solutions to big needs, this could very well be the business for you. So we're gonna wrap up with one kind of testimonial from someone who was in that very place and actually received the services of Next Day Access. And during this whole time, if you want to learn more and discuss what this might look like for you to step into ownership, and you want to see if your territory is available, see if you qualify for this business, all those things, see if there might be alignment. All you have to do is just type access in the comments, type it in the comments from whatever platform you are on, whether you're watching live right now or whether you're watching this 6 or 12 months or 18 months down the road, whenever, type access in the comments. And we'll send you a message. We can get a conversation going and talk about next steps from there. While they're doing that, Michele, thank you so much for being a
Thank
part of
you.
this and sharing your wisdom and your experience. It's a ton of value for people that come to me going, "Hey, I'm looking for something hands off." First of all, watch this video, okay, with Michele, and then we can talk. I'm excited. So thanks for doing this.
You got it. It was very nice meeting you, and I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me.
Likewise. All right, friends. Until next time, this is Jared. See you later. Bye.
I'm Myrna, and my hometown's Monte Vista, Colorado, southwest Colorado. And then I moved up to Colorado Springs in October of 17 to be near family. I had to get a lift because I've had a few surgeries. I think I just Googled and was just the good Lord blessed me and sent me to y'all. The team's professional. From the get-go, you call and they're friendly. And that's nice. When they're friendly and they don't, even though I'm a medical person, that was my first experience with the lift. And they don't treat you dumb. They just go with the flow, their hometown, and then always someone calls back right away. You guys will be the last call and the only call. You don't need to search anymore. And that really helps your day because you're done. Yeah, just one call and you're done. And that helps.